What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from from Zero. The date is October 1st, 2024, and this is your weekly dose of Retro Yu-Gi-Oh! We got some exciting results to discuss later on in the video from things like Tengu Plant, Critter format, Yugi-Kaiba, some of the earliest formats in the game's history, but we also got a bunch of events coming up this week that you should know about if you want to play some great Retro Yu-Gi-Oh! First up, on Thursday, October 3rd, there are two tournaments that are starting, both multi-day events. The first is Warriors of Warrior format number 1, held on the Sogen Discord server. That's the Warrior format specific Discord server. I'll link that to the description down below. And I'm really excited for that one because Warrior format is one of my favorite formats of the DM era. It's in February 2005, SJC Columbus of that year. Very similar card pool to GOAT format, but different ban list. So it makes things a bit wackier and a bit different. And so it honestly feels almost like an unexplored version of GOAT. So if you want to dive into a version of GOAT that is not quite as solidified as the current GOAT meta is, then that's the format for you. So definitely check it out if you're interested. Also, the Disc Commander Classic number 6 is happening in Perfect Circle in the Format Library Discord server, which I will also link in the description down below. Perfect Circle is widely regarded as one of the best formats of the GX era. So definitely check that out if you are interested in that. On Friday, October 4th, we got the Treasure Hunt number 4 in Treasure format over on the Treasure Trove Discord server. Treasure format is one of the earlier formats of the game's history, held in October 2002, and it's a pretty fun time. It's kind of like Critter format, which I'll be discussing more later in the video, but it does include the hand rips, which is very polarizing to some people. I'm personally fine with the hand rips in Treasure format because it sort of counteracts the resource train that defines Critter format, so it mixes things up a little bit there, and there are fun rogue decks like Relinquish that you can play, Clown Control that you can play, and other things like that. But if you're interested in trying out one of the earliest formats in the game's history, Friday is the day for you. This Saturday, we've actually got a variety of different events. If you want an in-person event, the Edison WCQ in Atlanta, Georgia is happening in Atlanta, Georgia. So you can find information on that on the Format Library Discord server. Definitely check on that if you're in the area and want to play some great Edison. There's also going to be 2 single-day events. Tengu Mania 9 is happening on Tengu Plant Town. I'm pretty sure that's a single-day event. I know that Tengu Rumble is another tournament that they hold. I think Tengu Rumble is the multi-day, and Tengu Mania is the single-day. Let me know down in the comments below if I mixed that up. But that should be pretty fun. Tengu Plant, events are always a fun time. So if you enjoy the format, definitely check that out. And also, there's going to be a hat single-day event, the Exiton Elimination number 12. This was an event that they used to hold more often, but now that hat format is rising in popularity, they're bringing it back. So we're going to hopefully see more of it, and it should be a lot of fun. So if you like hat format, that's a perfect time to jump into that. Moving on to Sunday, we've got the PWCQ number 68 in GOAT format over on the GOAT format Discord server. And I'll be linking to all the Discord servers that you can find all these events in the description down below. So if any of them caught your interest, don't worry. The Discord is linked down below. But that should be a fun time. All the past PWCQs have been great as well. And also this weekend, there will be a Locals and Demise format on the YGO from Zero Discord server. I'm still deciding whether to do it on Saturday or Sunday because Saturday has 2 single day events and Sunday has 1. But the one on Sunday is in a more popular format, whereas the one on Saturday are in less popular format. So I'm not quite sure when the best time to hold it is based on that. Let me know down in the comments below when you'd like the Demise Locals to be held. But that's in preparation for the Demise multi-day event that we're holding later this month. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Demise format is a pretty fun GX format from what we've explored so far. So definitely check it out. Stop by, watch the stream, or participate for yourself on the YGO from Zero Discord server on the day of. But that's going to do it for the upcoming events. Let me know if I missed any down in the comments below, and also point me to where I can potentially not miss those in the future if it's on a particular Discord server that I don't frequent or something like that. But that's going to do it for the upcoming events. Let's dive in to the events that wrapped up this week and discuss those results. First tournament we have to discuss is the Food Bowl number 2. Now, this is in Yugi-Kaiba format, the very first competitive format in the game's history, held in May 2002 when the first limited list actually came out. And it is a format that a lot of people have grown to love, a lot of people have grown to hate, because there are some polarizing decks in the format. But despite that, 26 people showed up for this event, which is pretty good for Yugi-Kaiba. Pretty good for any retro event outside of like Edison GOAT, one of the big ones, right? So pretty good representation here overall. Of course, if you look at the deck type representation wheel, we had 21 players on Soul Control, 3 players on Stall Burn, and 2 players on Stall Mill. Now, in the past, I mentioned that RetroBot, which is the tool that is used to categorize these different deck types, can mix up some of the categorizations and get some things wrong here. But I do actually think that this is a reasonable representation of the metagame in the format right now. I think that, you know, while Yugi-Kaiba players themselves may split hairs, like, oh, it's not quite soul control, it's like soul judge control, or it's like, you know, tribute UO control or things like that. I think that in general, it's soul control just in a different form, right? It's sort of evolved into a soul control deck that uses ultimate offering in addition to its other tools and plays more tribute monsters and things like that. So while it is different than, you know, traditional soul control, it is still a soul control deck. And so I do still agree with that classification here. So an interesting thing to note here, the Stall Mill, which is a very, very good deck in the format, only had 2 people playing it, and it only had 1 person convert to top cut. Now, that's still pretty good if 2 people bring it and 1 person converts to top cut. That's a 50% conversion rate there, and it makes sense because the deck is really, really good. It's one of the best decks in the format. Some say it's the best deck in the format. I'm not sure if I'm willing to go that far because this event was not won by Stall Mill, and the last event also was not won by Stall Mill, but I do think that it is one of the easier top-tier decks to play in the format, and it's a deck that if you want to just, you know, cruise to the top of a tournament, it is a deck to bring because a lot of people can't play against it, and it does kind of pilot itself in a lot of scenarios. There are scenarios where you are a bit harder pressed and you need to sort of do things to maneuver your way out of things, especially if you don't draw ultimate offering early. But I think overall the deck is just extremely good and extremely, you know, simple to play in a lot of situations. But I think to take it to a tournament win, you do need a bit more skill. But to take it to tournament top, I don't think you necessarily need as much. And that's not to say that the person who topped did not have skill, because they are a very good player with the deck. I mean, one person did top and the other person did not. But I do think that, like, it is a deck that if this format becomes more popular and becomes more competitive, more people are going to be playing it. And that is something that you have to keep in mind. That's something that Yugi-Kaiba has dealt with in the past. I think in this tournament, a lot of the people who've been playing in the past and really been, you know, try-harding and being competitive with it, were not playing in this event, and we got a lot of new blood. So that led to a lot of people not really playing Stall Mill. Whether that's representative of the meta as a whole is up to you to decide then. Especially because upon seeing this, maybe people will start, you know, taking out things from their main deck that were in there for Stall Mill and stuff like that. And that might lead to Stall Mill being a bit better. Another deck that, you know, I want to talk about here, Stall Burn, which 3 people did bring. That deck is specifically brought generally to deal with a Stall Mill meta, and if there aren't many people on Stall Mill, that deck does a lot worse. So this deck did not convert at all in this tournament, which makes sense. I mean, the deck is honestly tier 2 even in a Stall Mill meta, but, you know, when you don't have a Stall Mill meta going on, it just drastically falls, and so, you know, it makes sense why that didn't convert. But I'm not going to go through the individual deck lists like I've done in the past. We don't have time for that in this style of video here. But I think that a lot of the decks were pretty standard, except for maybe the winning list, which was a bit more of a heavy sort of like ultimate offering, soul control style thing, as has been, you know, becoming more popular in the past. But we can see how that deck does in the finals match, which I will show off on the channel here. Okay, we got the final match here between Rago Drago and Vive 1 Cristo, aka Food, versus El Duelist Pokédex. And we're just going to fast forward through this and watch how it goes down. This is a soul control mirror in the finals here because Stall Mill was eliminated before this point because, you know, both these players are playing a bit more of a heavy soul deck. They're both playing ultimate offering the deck, which is not something that soul control decks were doing a while ago. And so you're seeing them get to use it. They flip up the ultimate offering here, summon out La Jin. The reason why they do that is because there's a trap hole in the back row. They can then chain the ultimate offering to the trap hole to summon out Summon Skull in a way that sort of chain blocks the trap hole from going through. Soul Exchange is going to be fired on that Neo, tribute setting a Summon Skull, activating swords to protect it, and a sword will get fired to, you know, flip up that Summon Skull, see what it is. Mania Bug will get flipped up to pop the skull there. And now a Battle Ox will come down. Trap Hole will get chained to that, or not chained to it, but activated in response. And the Ultimate Offering will chain to that to bring out a Summon Skull in a way that dodges around another Trap Hole. Dark Hole will get fired here to remove those cards, but Rago Drago is a bit in a tough spot because they're not able to sort of get their things out of hand. They're going to soul control that Trap Master, preventing it from popping the Ultimate Offering. And Elijah is going to attempt to attack in here, but the Ultimate Offering will protect Rago Drago here, setting a Maneater Bug. They're going to summon out a Neo and try to attack in, but Vive 1 Cristo is going to use the Ultimate Offering here. Pay 5 to bring out a Wall of Illusion. That's going to bait out the reinforcements from Rago Drago here. A Neo comes down to attack in for 17, and that Trap Hole is getting set. You know, might not get the most use here with that Ultimate Offering on field, but, you know, you might as well set it just in case. 1800 to the face with that La Jin. Pot of Greed getting fired here. Fisher, Chain, Ultimate Offering to dodge around Trap Hole for a Neo here instead of the Lodgin. They're going to attack in for 17, and VV1 Crystal is going to use the UO there to set a Giant Soldier. Now, Ride Driver has the Fisher there to deal with that, but that Swords is going to slow down the game enough to potentially put, Food in a pretty bad spot here. They'll bring out a Neo, try and attack in, but with that Ultimate Offering, they will be able to protect themselves here. Trap Hole on the Neo, but they've got the Summon Skull for that, and this should be the end of the game with that other Ultimate Offering in the back row. So, VV1 Crystal got game 1 there, and Food is going into game 2 at a deficit here. Battle summoning down, and then setting 3 back row there, attacking him for 17, and passing back to VV1 Crystal. The Ultimate Offering draw, really key. Once you get that down, it's one of the most powerful cards in the format, arguably the best card in the format. People go back and forth on what the best card in the format actually is, but Ultimate Offering is just so flexible and so good in this format, especially given that there's no heavy storm. Lodgin coming down here, running into a Trap Hole, and then 2150 to the face into Raigo Drago here. Looking pretty bad for them. They're just breaking on soul exchanges, it looks like. Lodgin will come down, try and attack over the Neo, and that will indeed go through. So no reinforcement shenanigans there. Fisher's going to get fired on the Lodgin, Chain the Ultimate Offering to dodge around Trap Hole here to bring out that Battle Ox, getting in for 2150, setting a Man-Eater Bug, but Change of Heart will be able to deal with that Man-Eater Bug. 2150 coming in yet again, and Food is going to take that. They're not going to use the Waboku on that. The Man-Eater Bug will get flipped up to pop itself. And here comes a Neo off an Ultimate Offering, used twice to chain block around Trap Hole. Waboku there to protect against that. Change of Heart for the Summon Skull, and VV1 Crystal just scoops it up at that point. So very intense game 2 there, and we're going into game 3. So now the duels are tied up. Who will win? Well, we know who wins because I think I spoiled who won here already. But anyways, Neo attacks into an Aquamador, Change of Heart on the Neo to attack in for 2,900 here. That's pretty good, especially summing out a Summon Skull afterwards, but that's going to be met with a Trap Hole to stop that Summon Skull. No UO this time. The Lodgin attacking into the Aquamador. VV1 Crystal setting 1 monster there, attacking in with Lodgin here, but reinforcements will beat over that. Lodgin attacking directly for 18, setting a Waboku there. Raigeki will clean up those Lodgins very nicely, and this makes things a bit awkward for VV1 Crystal here. Waboku used on the Man-Eater Bug to keep it around for that Summon Skull. Man-Eater Bug pop the Trap Master their attack over the Neo. They'll set a Man-Eater Bug here so that we'll be able to deal with the Summon Skull there, and they're going to Waboku that to protect their life points a bit. Lodgin here plus Fisher will enable them to get in for 2250 if this connects, and it looks like it will connect. Ride Dragon not using the Waboku there. I think that makes sense. The Reborn on the Summon Skull to attack over the Lodgin makes sense as well. That way they're not dead to a Fisher or something. Some Skull attacks are a Man-Eater Bug, then Swords come down. So this is going to stall out the game for a little bit here. Both Swords have fallen now. Giant Soldier Stone coming down, but that's going to be met with a Trap Hole. Summon Skull attacking over a Battle Ox there. Setting 1 there. Raigeki on that set Neo, and then they're going to attack in with the Giant Soldier of Stone. They're going to attack in with the Summon Skull there, attack in with the Giant Soldier of Stone. So that's going to go through, and Swords will come down just in time for VV1 Crystal to protect themselves here, but the D-Spell will stop the Swords, and that's the power of D-Spell there. So setting 1, attacking them with the Skull, and then attacking in directly with the Giant Soldier, and that's going to be exact lethal there with that reinforcements to close out the game for 500. So Food winning the whole event, which is pretty cool because this is named the Food Bowl after Food, who's the main event organizer. So very cool stuff. Awesome that they managed to win a Yugi-Kaiba event. But yeah, very good finals. Shows the power of Ultimate Offering for sure. I think it just shows how good this card is in pretty much any deck in the format. And I mean, this just to me signals that Ultimate Offering Soul is just the top tier of the format, and the regular Soul Control deck just cannot compete. Next tournament that wrapped up was Scuffle in the Forum #1. This was a Swiss Imperial format held on the Imperial format Discord server, which I'll also link in the description down below. And I mean, it was a very small event. Only 14 people showed up to it. So, you know, all 14 of those people were on decks categorized as Tomato Control. Now we get into the era of where Retrobot's kind of like iffy on the deck categorization. But, you know, they probably were all Tomato Control in some way or another, because Tomato Control is a very good deck in this format. And it's mainly the competitive thing that you bring to this format. I think that this format might actually be tier 0, as I've mentioned in previous sort of breakdowns. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense why people brought Tomato Control. And that's not to say that there aren't some spicy techs that we may see in some of the winning deck lists here. But, you know, it does mean that the format is pretty much, it's not solved, but it is like sort of locked down into this meta for now. But instead of looking at the deck list individually, I want to show off the finals match because I think that will show off the spice in a really cool way. Here we got the finals here versus Dump Truck and GMYFS. Two very, very good duels and frequent guests on the channel as well. But we're going to dive into the games, and Dump Truck's going first, so they're going to go for Forceful here. Don't know why GMYFS flipped a coin. I think that was a misclick. But Forceful's going to send back that Witch. Makes sense. Can't search out anything there. And Dump Truck's going to set a Trap Hole and an IO. MSC coming down, but that's going to be stopped by IO. And Mechanical Chaser stopped by Trap Hole there. And they're going to pay the 7 for the IO there, attacking for 14. And GMYFS is in a really bad spot with that IO up, and not really many ways to stop too much pressure here. I mean, they do have Mirror Force, but they have to use it as a 1-for-1 instead of a 2-for-1. And now Dump Truck never has to worry about Mirror Force again. Heavy on the back row there after the IO drops, and they're going to flip up a Man Eater Bug, pop that Magician of Faith, and get in for 1850. So looking pretty good here for Dump Truck, but Duo might equalize things a little bit more, sending away a Raigeki and a Snatch. But that Change of Heart for the Magician of Faith, for the Change of Heart, should probably wrap things up here. No Mirror Force that you have to worry about. And this is going to be a lot of damage coming through. They're not dead yet, but it might as well be. So, going to drop down to 200, drawing into a Jinzo. Change of Heart should wrap that up. So, yeah, rough stuff there. We're going into game 2, though, and anything can happen here. GeoMyVest going to set 3. Comfy getting fired, ripping a card out of the hand, ripping that knock there. Now that Dump Truck knows there's no knock in him, they're going to flip the Faith, but the Man Eater Bug will be able to pop the Faith, and now Jinzo will be able to come down to shut off any traps, getting for 24. They're going to summon a Sangan as well, run into Dump Truck Sangan there, which is going to search at a Mystic Tomato, and then Sangan's going to rip in 4,000 life points, dropping them down to 3,600. GeoMyVest is going to set another and attack into that Man Eater Bug, which will shut off the Jinzo, turning on Dump Truck's Trap Hole. There is argument to actually Man Eater Bug the Sangan there, but it's not necessarily the most convincing argument, but it is an argument that you can make potentially. But either way, that Jinzo's coming back with that Call to Haunt and dropping Dump Truck down to 200 life points. And that's not going to be too good for Dump Truck here. Very, very scary spot to be in. Flipping up Magician of Faith to banish that Sangan there with the knock, attacking in over that tomato. And then, another tomato comes out, but it's sort of like the beginning of the end here. Not necessarily even the beginning of the end, but it's just like the end. They're going to banish that set Mechanical Chaser, attack into a tomato. Dump Truck's going to get out that Witch. And this should probably be the end of the game. There's the set card to contend with, but it was very, very likely that would not have stopped that Sangan there, and it did not. So, yeah, very, very good stuff in game 2. Game 3, Dump Truck kind of opens kind of rough, so they're just going to set a Trap Hole, pass back. The tomato's going to run into the Trap Hole, but GeoMyFS will reborn that tomato. Fisher for the tomato, though, and MST for the call. We'll clean that up a bit, and they're going to bring out a Mech Chaser, set a IO there, and a Dust Tornado. So things are looking pretty good for Dump Truck. They're able to get really aggressive here with the IO up to prevent spells. But the tech card that I mentioned comes through here, the Fiend Mega Cyber. Very, very interesting card to play in this format, but it does make sense. I mean, it is a free special summon. And, while it does take some hoops to get through, it's a really, really good come from behind card. So very, very good stuff here for GeoMyFS. And that put in some work there. The IO will drop to let the knock go through, and they've also got a Comfy to rip that Jinzo out of hand as well, so they can deal with that, and then set this Faith to have it there to bring back a spell from grave. But things are looking a bit bad for Dump Truck here. They're down really low on life. If GeoMyFS is playing Cannon Soldier in their deck, then that's going to be pretty bad for Dump Truck here. And they're going to get back Fisher to just clean up the Sangan, and then Fisher away the Mech Chaser. Tomato's going to get searched out there. So it looks like no Cannon Soldier, but that will be enough because the Fisher will clean up the Mech Chaser, and then that's more than lethal on board. So Fiend Mega Cyber showing his power here. That's the spice in GeoMyFS's deck that I wanted to highlight, and it really did come through here. So maybe this card will see more play in more Imperial events in the future, but we'll just have to watch and find out. Next event we got to talk about is the Vegas Monthly number 26. Vegas format is one of those XL era formats that is pretty popular among a specific subgroup of people. And, there's a lot of debate in this XL era, like, oh, which XL format is the one that should define the era? Tengu Plant technically is XL era format, but people kind of view it as an extension of the Synchro era. A lot of people like hat format, but a lot of people are just like, oh, 3 Soul Charge in hat makes it a lot worse than other formats in the time period. But no one's really been able to settle on, like, okay, what is the definitive XL era format? And Vegas is one of the contenders that people always put forward. So, pretty cool time period, pretty cool format in April of 2014, I believe, at the YCS Las Vegas there. And this was a pretty cool event. If you look at the sort of representation here, we had 4 Gear players, 3 players on something just called Other. So a variety of different decks that, haven't really had the classification in the system yet. 2 people on Fire Fist, 2 people on Heartbeats, 2 people on Dark World, and then 1 each of Fire King, Mythic Ruler, Spellbook, Spirit, Ghost Trick, Mermail, and Bujin. So very, very diverse sort of metagame here. And Tied for third place are Mermail and Firefist. So one Mermail player, one Firefist player made it to third place there in the sort of Swiss Top Cut 4. And the final two players were actually on Bujin and Geargia. So let's watch their match and see how it actually shook out. Okay, we got Celsius 233 here versus Lightsworn Yagami here. And I believe that Celsius is playing Bujins and Lightsworn is playing Geargia here. So they open with a Tenki to search out a Yamato there. They're going to go for duality just to see what else they get. They're going to get Blackhorn, which makes sense. I believe that there is no heavy in this format. Otherwise, this play is kind of risky, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. Yamato here to add a Bujin Hair and then pitch the Bujin Hair to get it engraved for, setting up its effect and stuff. But Bujin is a deck that a lot of people don't necessarily like, but it is a pretty neat deck, I think, overall. It does some interesting things, even though a lot of people don't like this style of gameplay. But it looks like no Kaiser Coliseum here just yet, so we'll have to see if that actually does come up in future games. But Darkhold will be able to potentially clean things up here, but that hair will be able to be chained to that and stop the Yamato from being destroyed. Of course, Geargia are already able to bring out the Gigan X, but the Blackhorn Feather will stop that. Geargia Gear will be able to bring out an Exton Knight and potentially pop the board, and that will indeed go through. So it's looking kind of rough. But the Bujin Carnation will be able to allow for Susanoo play, which can then, go into Yamato off the Tenki, and they'll attack in here for a fair bit of damage. Then they're going to go for the Susanoo to add a Crane, and then they're going to search the turtle, pitch the turtle, and that's going to be pretty good. So Gigan X will be able to go off here and get a search, but that Crane could potentially stop the Gigan. It looks like they're not going to do that, though. They're just going to wait here. And they're just going to use, I guess, the Crane on that attack to close things out. So, yeah, I mean, that should definitely show some skill with the deck. If I was playing, I might have just shotgunned the Crane, but I think it made sense to do that there. So, Geargia will be able to bring out a Geargia armor, though, and then set up a Dim Fizz, which is going to be pretty good against the Bujin deck, which kind of wants to get things engraved. But if there's a way to deal with that, then they'll be able to deal with it. But knock on the Geargia armor definitely hurts. And yeah, Celsius is just going to scoop it up. They're like, you can pop off from here. I can't, so that's just going to be the end of the game. Upstart for an Honest there, and going for duality, hoping for Yamato or Tenki, and it looked like they do get a Tenki, and actually the Yamato there. So they're just going to add that Yamato. They'll reveal off duality to hand. Go for Yamato there. They're going to search a turtle, send a turtle, and, sort of have protection for it there. Dim Fizz will get fired, but a little bit too late at this point. Hair coming down to attack in for 17, and Yamato attacking in for 19 here. That will all go through, going for an overlay into Susanoo, which will get bottomless, but that sends Yamato and the Hair to grave because they're materials at that point. So Gigan X will be able to go off, though, and get another Gigan X and, start doing Geargia things, attacking for 4,600 here, and that will all connect via the no defense on Celsius 233 side of things. But a Bujin Carnation will potentially be able to make things happen. That'll get warninged, but another Bujin Carnation will help out with that. Going for a Crane into Diamond Dire. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to pop here. It looks like they're going to pop the Dim Fuse, and they're going to pop that Diamond Dire as well. So they're going to attack in to the Geargan X with the Honest to get over that, and then they're going to attack in to the other Geargan X because that does, get to attack all monsters they control. And the Honest will be able to keep the bust up. And yeah, that's going to be a lot of damage there. So that's going to be the end of the game. Bujin's actually managing to take this one home. I think a lot of people don't view Bujin's as, sort of a tier 1 meta threat, but it did win this event, which is kind of cool. Very small event, to be fair, but still kind of cool to see it take down the meta like this. So awesome stuff there. I know a lot of people don't like Bujin's as much, but I think the deck is cool, so I'm happy to see it win there. Next up, we have the Toronto Time Capsule 26 held on the Tournament Nexus Discord server with 15 people in it, so a pretty small Tengu Plant event. But, it's still a Tengu Plant event, so I figured I'd cover it here. For the deck type representation, 2 people brought Agents, 2 people brought Scrap, and then from there on, we get a bunch of one-ofs. 1 person on Other, 1 person on Cladian Plant Synchro, 1 person on Gravekeeper, 1 person on Nordic, 1 person on Plant Synchro, 1 person on Hero Beat, 1 person on Rockstun, 1 person on Karakuri, 1 person on Frogmark, 1 person on Worm, and 1 person on Dragoonity. Let's see how the top cut actually shook out, or at least the finals match shook out, and see which deck actually won, because the winning deck of this event might surprise you. Okay, we got Simply Yu-Gi-Oh! Versus Not Puke here, and Simply Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to go first, and they are on Scraps here, which is very cool, versus a Diva Hero deck of some sort. they're going to go for a pot there and get a Ryo to prevent searching from going on and just pass back to their opponent. That shuts off the duality in their opponent's hand, but the Ryo will be able to come down, crash with the other Ryo, and they're able to go for duality and add that warning to hand. So that's pretty good for them. They're just going to set that warning, pass back, MST on the warning, but then they've got Scrap Beast plus the Reborn to go into a Ryo, their opponent's Ryo specifically, which is pretty important. And now they're going to attack in for a fair bit. Go into a Stardust, pass back, setting a heavy there. Effect Veiler on the Diva should wrap things up, and yeah, that's going to be the end of the game. So rough stuff for Not Puke, but you know, that was game 1. Let's see how game 2 goes. Seems like they drew into their fusion stuff, but no monsters there. Duality plus Upstart gets a lot of searching power for Simply Waigeo here. And that Ryo is going to be a bit annoying to deal with. They're going to set a Scapegoat, then attack in with the Ryo, pass back. E-Call is useless against Ryo, but they have to Dark Hole that to go into the E-Call for the Stratos to search out the Alias to turn on their Gem Spark and some of their fusions online. They're going to attack in for 18, but that's going to get met with a Scapegoat there. So 1 token gone. They're going to set the Super Poly because they can potentially go into that with some stuff here. So they're going to go for the Super Poly now, pitch the Alias, and they're going to contact fuse, or not contact fuse, but fuse with the Ryo to go into a Shining. Miracle Fusion to go into another Shining here, attacking over the Reborn Tengu there. Bring out another Tengu in defense, tagging over that Tengu as well, just to get those Tengus out of the deck. And then setting a Mirror for Scrapyard will get a Scrap Beast to hand. And they're going to go into a Scrap Dragon, pop the Scapegoat and one of the Shinings there that will add back an Alias to turn on the Gem Spark, and also a Stratos to do further searching plays and stuff like that. Mirror Force for the Scrap Dragon, but that'll be able to bring back a Scrap Beast, which can go into a Bryo, pitch the Scrapyard, or Scrap Storm that is, to bounce that Shining back to hand. Chimera will be able to bring back the Beast though and get in for 3,300 here, so things are looking a bit rough for Not Puke here, going to a Scrap Dragon as well, which will provide further extension plays if it's cleared from the field. Solemn Judgment as well to protect it. So things are looking pretty bad here for Not Puke. But that Alias will come down. Solemn will stop that. So now Gem Spark can't be activated, and this should be the end of the game. Yeah, so Beast plus Dragon does equal lethal there. So this showed one of the powers of Scraps, that when Scrap Dragon, which is one of the best synchros in the format, it's destroyed, it gets to bring out a Scrap monster, which doesn't generally come up that often if you're not playing a Scrap deck. But it came up here, and it was able to be used to great effect by Simply Waigeo. So very, very cool to see Scraps take an event here. Again, very small event, and this is the sort of caveat for a lot of the events that I cover on the channel, is that, like, they are just very small, so you can't really take this and be like, Scrap is a Tengu Plant meta deck, you know, but it is cool to see it win, and, you know, winning small events like this could potentially be a sign that there's promise there to potentially win a bigger event, but more testing and more events will have to be held to actually see if that is the case. Now, this event was going to be the last event that I covered in this video, but as I was recording, another event wrapped up. So retro Yu-Gi-Oh! Is always moving, always new stuff happening, despite it being old Yu-Gi-Oh! But, you know, this is a pretty cool event that I'm going to cover here. It's the Catch a Grand Prix in Critter, the Critter Conundrum, cracking it at least. And it was a pretty fun event. 19 people participated in it. 11 people brought Muku Muku Turbo, which is sort of the hot deck of the hour, at the top of the meta recently. It's sort of a more aggressive deck in the format, playing Muku Muka with a bunch of cards in hand, potentially playing Last Will to turbo out more Muku Mukas, things like that. So it is a very, very good deck in the format, and a lot of people wanted to bring it. Of course, 5 people were on Mass Control, which is sort of the previous best deck of the format, or at least what people viewed to be the previous best deck of the format, where you're playing a bit more of a control game, a bit of a grindier game. You're using Mass Sorcerer to draw into more cards. You're using a ton of Solemns as well to shut off what your opponent's doing. And that is a very, very good deck as well. But a lot of people moved away from it in recent times. We've also got 3 one-off players here. We got one person on Stalber, one person on Black Skull Dragon Turbo, and we got one person on Exodia. So, you know, very interesting to see those 3 decks there. Exodia, of course, has fallen quite a distance because people have started, you know, main decking outs to it. And so not really the best deck in Critter format anymore. But it is still fun to see it pop up in these tournaments here. But the last game in the event was actually between Mass Control and Muku Muku Turbo. So let's see which of those 2 decks can actually reign supreme in this event. Here we got Spiral 67 versus Troller here. And Troller is on the Muku Muku Turbo deck, and Spiral 67 is on the Mass Control deck. You can see that Troller's on the Muku Muku Turbo deck because of that Last Will in hand, which most Mass Control decks do not play. They're also playing Thunder Dragon, which, again, most Mass Control decks do not play. But both players are going to start by setting and passing, and that is generally what these decks do. You want to sort of have your recruiters on board to, you know, get your resource train going. But since Troller has that Last Will there, plus the Thunder Dragon in hand, they can tribute over for the Thunder Dragon, then bring out a Muku Muku as well and get really aggressive here. Now, Spiral is playing Muku Muku in the deck. A lot of times these decks do play similar things, right? Some Muku Muku Turbo decks do play Master Sorcerer to draw into more stuff. Some Master Sorcerer decks do play Muku Muku because it just is an individually good card, even if you're not turboing into it. But So you might see some sort of cross-pollination there. And some people might say like, okay, well, this is just two good stuff decks going at it because they're playing similar cards. But I do think that they're different enough in playstyle to make it different overall. But either way, you can see that things are going pretty aggressively here, cleaning up that Lodge in there that was brought back and attacking them with Sangan. So Spiral is a bit down on life points here, but the Magician of Faith can definitely help them get out of that hole a bit. Lodge attacking over that, Sangan attacking directly for 1,000, and now a Reborn coming back for a Muka, which will be at 2,100 attack, but a Solemn coming down, but that will be met with a 7 Tool to the Bandit, one of the coolest tech cards in this format, because Solemn is a very, very powerful card, right? So one way to stop it is 7 Tool to the Bandit, and 7 Tool to the Bandit does not cost you as much life as a Solemn would, so that makes a lot of sense. Going for a Dark Hole here, stopping that Magician of Faith, and then going for a Reborn plus a Sangan, getting in for 2,600. Now that Sangan does die, it's very likely that Spiral will have a way to get into a Cannon Soldier. So, that will spell the end of the game here if Troller does not have a way to deal with that cannon. And it looks like they do not, so that's going to be the end of the game. Reason why Cannon Soldier is such a powerful card in this format, it is actually wild. A lot of people underestimate it going into the format, but then once they play a couple games, they're like, yeah, Cannon Soldier's busted. It's so searchable off of Sangan and Witch, and you just do wind up in a lot of situations where your opponent is down to very, very low life points, and Cannon Soldier can just clean up the game from there. Change of Heart for Magician of Faith, getting back that Change of Heart. Brutal play there from Troller, just invalidating that Magician of Faith, but very, very good read there. A lot of people would not go for a Change of Heart like that early, but, if you got the read that it is a Magician of Faith, you do go for it, and it works out. So, Sangan attacking over that Faith, Witch attacking in directly for 11, and Spiral's got a handful of power cards, but it's kind of rough because they don't have any aggression to follow that up with. And power card into 2 recruiters is a bit awkward. They're choosing not to set the Magician of Faith because they know about the Change of Heart, so that makes sense. But the summon of the Muka plus the Reborn of the Lodgin will just be the end of the game there. So rough stuff for Spiral there, but go into the all-important game 3. Maybe they'll be able to draw a bit better. Witch set and Waboku set. The Lodgin is going to attack into that Witch, and that will go through. Searching on a Sangan here. Rough misclick there. They meant to set that, and they're going to set 2 there. Sangan coming down. Fisher for the Lodgin, attacking in for 1,000. Not to say that, like, Spiral would have gone for Lodgin here if they didn't see the trap hole, but it is just rough when your opponent knows about that, and then they can just Heavy Storm to get pretty good value off that. But Fisher coming down there for the Lodgin there, attacking in for 2,800 overall, dropping Troller down to 4,200 and leaving them with not as many cards as they'd probably like. They're going to set a Sword or Stone here, which can wall up a bit, but that Man-Eater Bug will be able to deal with the Giant Soldier if it's allowed to go off. They're going to attack into the Sangan there, then they're going to Fisher away the Lodgin, Bug flipping up to pop the Magician of Faith, and then summoning out a Lodgin to get over the Giant Soldier, getting in directly with Man-Eater Bug, and things are going really badly for Troller. That Change of Heart is okay for later, but, not really that good right now. They're going to go Change of Heart, take control of the Lodgin to hit over the Bug, and then they contribute off the Bug with the Cannon Soldier in main too. So, not the worst thing in the world, but it's not quite at lethal. And that's kind of where you want to be because you're in a very, very risky scenario here. But Magician of Faith gets back Fisher, which will then pop that Cannon Soldier there. Going for heavy on the back row, getting rid of Waboku, heavy on that Mirror Force there. And this will actually be exact lethal damage here to close out the game with a Magician of Faith, a Man-Eater Bug, and a Witch attacking in there. So wild stuff there. Muka actually would have been potential lethal. Now, it wouldn't have been lethal off the top, but if they treated off the Cannon Soldier earlier, then it would have been lethal there. But yeah, I mean, things probably would have turned out differently if it was not exactly lethal here. Spiral probably would have switched the Magician of Faith to defense or the Bug to defense, etc. But either way, very, very good stuff there from both players. Both players played this very, very well. Critter is one of the most difficult formats to play, one of the most skill-intensive formats to play as well. And I mean, this final definitely shows that. A lot of moves there that if I was slowing down and analyzing further, we could be here for hours talking about this game. So I hope you all enjoyed that. And let's dive into the last tournament now and talk about the latest results from Hat format. Last event I got to cover here is the Moral Attack Monthly number 30, which was held over on the Hat Alliance Discord server. And it was a big event. 74 people joined, and a lot of people brought a lot of different decks here. So we had 15 people on Artifact Trap Tricks, 14 people on Mermail, 8 people on Gear Gear, 5 people on Mythic Ruler, 5 people on Bujin, 4 people on Infernity, 3 people on Koki Meru Firefist, very, very neat deck in the format, 3 people on Spellbook, 2 people on Other, 2 people on Sylvan, and 1 each of Artifact Laval, 6 Samurai, Constellar Artifact, Rank 4 Toolbox, Machina Gimmick Puppet, Karakuri Gear, Modolce, Gadget, Twilight, Evol, Artifact Gravekeeper, Spirit Ghost Trick, and Hieratic Ruler. Now, the top cut, there were a lot of different decks that made it there. There was one Gear Gear player. There were actually 2 Kokimeru Fire Fist players of the 3 people that actually brought it. So that's very, very good conversion for such a big format tournament there. So, maybe there's something to that deck. But there were 3 Artifact Traptrix decks as well, 1 Inferni and 1 Mermail. So very, very cool top deck there. Or not top deck, but top cut there. Definitely showing the diversity of the format. But now that I've covered the deck breakdowns here, let's actually talk about the finals match and show off what those finals look like. Okay, we got Wiz Kalina versus Sunstrider here. And this is going to be very, very fun. So we've got Artifact Hand here, and we've got Inferni here. So 2 very different decks. One just wants to combo off a lot. The other is a big control deck. But we'll have to see which one will win out the day. So the Inferni deck is going to combo off, going for the Camion Wizard off the Instant Fusion there. But the Scythe will stop that play there, preventing extra deck summons, which is a sort of new innovation in Hat format with the Scythe lock here. Seeing how powerful it is modern, they figured why not bring it to Hat. And there's actually a video by Alrayam, who's a Hat YouTuber, who actually, showcased this deck and talked about it a bit more. So I can link to that in the description as well if there aren't too many links already. But anyway, those breaks will clean up the board a little bit. But as you can see here, Wiz Kalina is in a pretty commanding position now. Archfiend off the top could have maybe changed some stuff there, but it was not to be. So rough stuff for the Inferni player, but they are going first here, so they could potentially pop off. Unfortunately, they're not really going to have a chance to pop off here, but it's okay. They decided to do a bit more controlling stuff of their own, so maybe that can help them a bit here. They're going to go for a Stygian Street Patrol. Artifact Sanctum is going to get used. A Wiretap's going to get used, but another Wiretap's going to get used to stop that. And the Scythe will come down, preventing any extra deck plays. The Ice Hand will attack into the Stygian Street Patrol, but Debunk will stop that from going off. And then the Scythe will attack into the Stygian Street Patrol to clear it. Pitching a spell off Summoner Monk to bring out an Armageddon Knight. Going to pitch an Eris there to search out Archfiend Palabyrinth to insulate their plays a bit and do some stuff with Archfiends like the Inferni Archfiend here. Going for Key Beetle to target their back row there, which is an Emptiness, which can be pretty oppressive here. They're going to also target the Palabyrinth there to keep that around, to keep the attack boost on the Archfiend, and also to allow for some interesting stuff there. I'm not the most expert Inferni player in the world, so I don't quite know the intricacies of the deck as much. So, but Palabyrinth is a pretty good card in general. But anyways, Thrasher is going to come down. They're going to bring out an Armageddon Knight as well, sending an Eris to search out an Archfiend here. And then they're going to overlay for an Honor Arc, attacking into the Fire Hand here. That will protect itself, and the Fire Hand will not be able to summon out an Ice Hand. So good read there. They're going to go for a Dark Grepher, pitching the Archfiend there, pitching a Street Patrol as well. Instant Fusion for a Camion Wizard, which will go into Key Beetle and protect that back row, which is a Dimpriz. So pretty good. They will target the Key Beetle there, but that will be used to send the Dimpriz instead. So that protects it against the Fire Hand, and the Duality will be able to get I believe it got a Scythe maybe, but kind of a rough Duality. Or maybe it got a Sanctum. If it got Sanctum, that makes sense, because then you go into double Scythe here and try and pop some stuff here. Popping that Key Beetle, popping the Silent Arc, or at least detaching material from it. Upstart Goblin drawing a card, which is a Necromancer. Necromancer will be able to bring back the Archfiend. They've got Launcher set up for further extension here. Archfiend searching out Archfiend. Stygian Street Patrol to summon out that Archfiend, but the Debunk will stop that Launcher will be able to bring back an Archfiend, though, here, which will then search out a Necromancer, going into a Lavalval Chain, sending a Stygian Street Patrol to then bring out the Necromancer, but another Debunk will stop that play, which is kind of rough there. And now the barrier is shut off. The Ignition will come down, bringing out a Moral Attack there, and then they're going to bring out a Scythe and start beating over that board. So kind of rough stuff. They can go to Pleiades, but that can detach the Necromancer before it can actually use effect to bring back something. It can detach a Break as well. They're going to go for Soul Charge to set up for a big play here, going into a Durandal and a Rhapsody and Berserk to banish those Archfiends from grave and also buff up the Durandal. So it's not looking good for Sunstrider here, which is kind of wild given that they were able to combo off a fair bit here. But, that happens occasionally, and especially when you get a control deck like Artifact Traptrix doing stuff here. Solemn Warning for the Necromancer is going to be pretty good, and Instant Fusion is not going to do enough there. Just not enough at all. But that's going to be a very, very exciting hack game there, showing how back and forth this match can be, despite how combo-oriented the Infinity deck is and how control-oriented the Hand Artifact Trap Tricks deck is. So very, very cool stuff there. I hope that you enjoyed this weekly dose of Retro Yu-Gi-Oh! Stick around next week. We'll have coverage of the events that wrap up between now and the next time I release this video, and also, coverage of future events as well. So if you like what you saw here, subscribe to the channel. Also, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you want to see changes to this format of video here. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed as always. Big shout outs to my patrons, Rinspin, Pork Raccoon, Brent Doctor, Tyler Compton, GeoMyFS, Dumpstruck, and Scout Zero. It means a lot that you all support me. It's encourage me to make more videos like this in the future. I hope you enjoyed as always. And until next time, I've been Ben from YGR from Zero, and I'm signing off.